Good evening. My name is Kadaria Ahmed, and this is Straight Talk. With master's and doctorate degrees in international relations from Johns Hopkins University in America and St. Catherine's College, Oxford University, UK, my guest spent 15 years as a senior research fellow at the Nigerian Institute of International Affairs and would ordinarily be described as an academic. However, it is his unconventional views and teachings on Christianity and his recent comments on politics that have drawn the attention of Nigerians. His scathing criticism of Nigeria's mega-rich Pentecostal pastors is unparalleled. He has described them as counterfeit Christians who will end up in hell for preaching a prosperity gospel. My guest has also put a spotlight on the opposition All Progressives Congress, the APC, which he says is a Muslim party. I am pleased to have with me on Straight Talk today the coordinator of the non-denominational Christian Fellowship, Healing Wings, Dr. Femi Aribisala. Sir, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
I understand that you've been making some very radical suggestions on how you think Nigerians should deal with corruption, and it includes killing people who are corrupt, public executions, etc., etc. Is that correct? And if that is so, were you very serious when you made that suggestion?
Part of the problem with Nigeria is that it's difficult to write something that is a satire, and people take you literally. I decided to write something satirical about dealing with corruption, again, in order to emphasize the need to address it. But I don't believe in killing people. That would create more problems than it will solve. I think that part of the problem of corruption in Nigeria, we will always have corruption. The question is how we deal with it. And I think the problem at the moment is that we are not dealing with it. If you send some people to long-term jail terms, I mean, I don't know of anybody, any corrupt person in Nigeria that has really paid
for being corrupt.
For being corrupt. I mean, you know, either you will not be tried, or you're tried and you are sentenced to some fine that is ridiculous to how much you stole, or you are sentenced and you end up in a hospital for 6 months. I mean, the whole thing is ridiculous. It's a joke. So the people don't pay for corruption in Nigeria. And that's really ridiculous.
And so what are you saying? How do we move? I mean, everybody's aware of the problems. The issue has always been how we deal with them.
Yeah, we set up these organizations, EFCC, etc. You know, I mean, a lot of noise. EFCC makes a lot of noise when they you know, bring somebody to court, and then that's the end of it. What happens to the corrupt people? By the time some people are going to jail for 10 years for corruption, at least it will affect us psychologically. Some of us would even be satisfied at least they're paying for it.
Who is to blame for the failure of Nigeria to deal with corrupt public officers and corruption in other parts of the society? Is it government? Is it Nigerians?
We're all to blame. I mean, you know, we're all corrupt. That's part of the problem. From the mechanic down the road to your plumber, you know, so that's part of where the problem is. But we need to create institutions that will address the problem, and we haven't done that. You create a special tribunal that will expeditiously deal with corrupt practices, and you have a statutory requirement of how many years, you know, those that are found guilty spend in jail, and you make sure they spend it in jail.
Do you think the government currently in power has the stomach and the will for those sort of reforms?
No.
You're not. You don't think
I'm
they're
not
doing
persuaded.
enough?
No, I'm not persuaded that the government at the moment is, you know, I mean, nothing has happened with regard to corruption in the 6 years or 5 years of Mr. President Jonathan. Talking as a political realist, he's dependent on being re-elected by a number of people that he might not necessarily like. He only complained about the governor of Kano when he moved to the opposition party. So if he gets a second term, which I believe he will, however he does it, he might have no qualms now about dealing with corruption because he might have a legacy to protect.
So there's a big might.
In Nigeria is a lot of might. There's a lot of might in the equation.
Is there anything in his actions, in what he's
language,
done, that makes you hopeful that perhaps a second term might see an attempt to actually get rid of corruption in public office and a whole bunch of other ills?
If he gets a second term, people will have to deal with him because there's a lot of opposition impediment from people who didn't want him to get there and don't want him to run again. And if he gets a second term, it might be a different kind of Jonathan that we see.
We have to take a break now. When we return, we focus on politics and Dr. Aribisala's criticism of the opposition APC. And if this is designed to get him a job with the president, don't go away. Welcome back. Dr. Aribisala, before the break, we were talking about how you didn't feel that perhaps this present administration is doing necessarily enough to tackle corruption. And yet the bulk of your criticism, at least your written criticism, has focused on the opposition APC. Why is that? Why haven't we seen you write as much on the PDP or the government as you have on the APC?
The PDP is a devil that I know. The APC are people who are yesterday's men, and I just don't believe in them. I know the pedigree of Tinubu, and I know a little bit about Buhari, and I just don't trust this.
What is it about them in particular that makes you distrustful?
Well, okay, let's break them down. First of all, the APC seems to me to be a party that arises out of a desire that a northerner should be president of Nigeria. Now, I find that very, very objectionable for a number of reasons. Northerners have been president of Nigeria for donkey years, and then whenever somebody else comes in, there's a lot of noise about the power returning to the north. Why? Why should the power return to the north? In fact, as far as I'm concerned, after a South-South man would have been president, a Southeast man should be there. So,
does the region matter so much? Is it not, or should it not be, about competency?
There's a difference between the ideal and the real issue. The fact is that in the Nigeria of today, the region matters a lot. I mean, all the noise that comes up is about the regions. It's not about competency. I don't believe that Buhari is competent. I don't, what does he know about economics?
But the APC has not said that Buhari is there.
I'm just saying, I'm talking about the people that are there. I mean, they are the people that form the party.
So you don't believe that what they're doing is setting up an alternative to a party which many Nigerians feel has failed the nation. That's what you're saying.
No, they always had that alternative, and Nigerians rejected them. Buhari had a party. He ran an election 3 times. At what point do you come to the conclusion that people don't want you? I mean, nobody can convince me that a party that Tinubu and Buhari are in is democratic. I'm just giving you as an example. Nobody can convince me that a party that Buhari is in would support civil liberties. I'm just giving you as examples. Nobody will convince me.
Because he was a military dictator?
Because of the kind of military dictator that he was. I mean, we've had military dictators in Nigeria. They did
Who've become civilian presidents. Example,
yes.
President
Obasanjo. They did not shoot people, bring retroactive decrees, do all kinds of havoc that Buhari did, as far as I'm concerned.
You've been quoted online as saying that as far as you're concerned, the APC is a Muslim party. Does this have anything to do with the fact that you object to the party?
I have a problem when you have 170 million Nigerians and with more or less equal distribution between Muslims and Christians and other faiths. and all the major elements in your party are Muslim. I
They
mean,
would dispute that.
well,
because they will point to members who are not.
No,
They've
I'm
got
saying the major national elements of the party are all Muslim.
You do realize it is an interim executive,
Yeah.
and that the coloration may drastically change.
No, it will. And part of my job, by highlighting this, is to make sure they change it. I think it is nonsensical to, even whether interim or temporary or whatever, have presented that kind of face as a party and said this is a party of change. It's rubbish. You should know the temperature of Nigeria. You should know the nature of the policies of Nigeria, and that you don't go about setting up a party with that kind of coloration.
If what we're looking to do is to build a nation where increasingly we're looking at merit, shouldn't new parties that are focusing on change focus on individuals and their merits?
No, it doesn't happen in politics. What happens is that you have federal character, but federal character is implemented meritoriously. So there is nothing mutually exclusive about it. You can decide that you want the vice president to come from a certain part of the country. Nothing wrong with that, because you want a balanced political equation. But then the person that you choose is somebody of merit. Now, so there is nothing exclusive about the two of them. So in perpetuity, the issue of religion, where you come from, is going to be an indelible part of Nigerian politics.
Do you hate Muslims? Is this an excuse to just sort of basically have a go at people?
My grandmother is a Muslim. I'm a Yoruba person, so you must know. My grandmother was Muslim. Why would I hate Muslims?